sorry. I'm so sorry. And I once... What is body... sorry. What is body positivity? Body positivity is a social movement focused on the acceptance of all bodies, no matter the size, shape, gender, physical abilities or skin tone. It challenges the beauty standards. Sorry.
That's good.
I've got this. What is body positivity? Body positivity is a social movement focused on the acceptance of all bodies, no matter the shape, size, gender, physical abilities or skin tone. It challenges the beauty standards. When this was known as What is body positivity? Body positivity is a social movement focused on the acceptance of all bodies, no matter the size, shape, gender, physical abilities or skin tone. It challenges the beauty standards. When this was known as fat acceptance, it was about fat pride and empowerment to eliminate stigmas around fatness. Unfortunately, people of colour would be shut out of this. White activists did not want to take on more than one issue because they thought fat acceptance would get lost. They also believed black communities were more accepting of fat people. This has changed through more recent years to include all communities. Where did it all start? In the 1960s, a movement was started to end the way fat people were treated. This is where fat acceptance began. NAAFA promoted a healthy model at every size where health is not measured by weight but signs such as heart rate. The movement really took off in the 90s, where protests would be happening all over the US, including outside the White House and gyms. The term positivity started in the 2000s, where anonymity led to body love and self-expression. However, it brought in complications including body shame and bullying. Hashtags like #bodypositivity allowed people to connect in new ways. Selfies and OOTDs represented people's acceptance of their bodies. This created a safer space for people to explore this than real life. Having negative body image can cause problems such as depression, anxiety, alcohol and drug use, and body dysmorphia. Men can suffer body dysmorphia too. Symptoms are becoming increasingly common in male teenagers. In a study in a school, 30% of males wanted bigger muscles and to gain weight, while 17% of the males thought they were underweight, even though they are not. What is body dysmorphia disorder? Body dysmorphia disorder is an anxiety disorder related to body image. If you experience obsessive worries about a perceived flaw or develop compulsive behaviours such as excessive use of mirrors, if you experience these, you likely have BDD. The obsessions and behaviours of this disorder can cause emotional distress and can really impact the day-to-day. This means it can cross over with obsessive compulsive disorder. It is estimated to affect 2% of the population. Women reported higher rates of BDD than men. Those with BDD take a long time to report due to fear of judgment. Several ways to cause BDD can be childhood bullying, having a perfectionist attitude, or being diagnosed with other mental health conditions. BDD has been seen to affect teenage boys, girls equally. This is because the body changes drastically in these developmental years. This means a lot of teenagers suffer the symptoms subside in adulthood. So men and women both suffer with BDD. Women suffer at an increasingly rate. Fuck. What is body positivity? Body positivity is a social movement focused on the acceptance of all bodies, no matter the size, shape, gender, physical abilities or skin tone. It challenges the beauty standards. When this was known as fat acceptance, it was about fat pride and empowerment to eliminate stigmas around fatness. Unfortunately, people of colour would be shut out of this. White activists did not want to take on more than one issue because they thought fat acceptance would get lost. They also believed black communities were more accepting of fat people. This has changed through more recent years to include all communities.
Where it all started. In the 1960s, a movement was started to end the way that fat people were treated. This is where fat acceptance began. NAAFA promoted a healthy model at every size where health is not measured by weight but signs such as heart rate. The movement really took off in the 90s, where protests would be happening all over the America. Fuck's sake. Where it all started. In the 1960s, a movement was started to end the way fat people were treated. This is where fat acceptance began. NAAFA promoted a healthy model at every size where health is not measured by weight but signs such as heart rate. The movement really took off in the 90s, where protests would be happening all over America, including outside the White House and gyms. The term positivity started in the 2000s, where anonymity led to body love and self-expression. However, it brought in complications including body shame and bullying. Hashtags like #bodypositivity allow people to connect in new ways. Selfies and OOTDs represented people's acceptance of their bodies. This created a safer space for people to explore this than in real life. Having negative body image can cause problems such as depression and anxiety, alcohol and drug abuse, and body dysmorphia. Men can suffer body dysmorphia too. Symptoms are becoming increasingly common in male teenagers. In a study in a school, 30% of males wanted bigger muscles and to gain weight, while 17% of the males thought they were underweight even though they were not.
What is body dysmorphia disorder? Body dysmorphia disorder is an anxiety disorder related to the body image. If you experience excessive worries about a perceived flaw or developed compulsive behaviours such as excessive use of mirrors, if you experience these, you likely have BDD. The obsessions and behaviours of this disorder can cause emotional distress and can really impact the day-to-day. This means it can cross over with impulsive... What is body dysmorphia disorder? Body dysmorphia disorder is an anxiety disorder related to body image. If you experience obsessive worries about a perceived flaw or developed compulsive behaviours such as excessive use of mirrors, you likely have BDD. The obsessions and behaviours of this disorder cause emotional distress and can really impact the day-to-day. This means it can cross over with obsessive compulsive disorder. It is estimated to affect 2% of the population. Women reported higher rates of BDD than men. Those with BDD can take a long time to report due to fear of judgment. Several ways to cause BDD can be childhood bullying, having a perfectionist attitude, or being diagnosed with mental health conditions. BDD has been seen to affect teenage boys and girls equally. This is because the body changes drastically in these developmental years. This means a lot of teenage sufferers, the symptoms subside in adulthood. Though men and women both suffer with BDD, women suffer at a slightly increased rate. This has been seen to be due to social pressures being female.
Hi James, tell me some stuff about yourself.
So I'm James, I'm 19, I go to Henley College currently. I'm hoping to go to university next year. I'm studying film right now. And social media. Well, I started using social media when I was around 15. I started secondary school. It was the first time I was away from home really, and my mum gave me a phone. And of course, you know, going to secondary school first day, everyone was like, what's your Instagram, what's your Snapchat? Because it's just the first thing you ask basically. And you know, so I downloaded Instagram, started, you know, following my friends and whatnot. Obviously, you know, they get dragged into following influencers and lifestyle pages and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, well, zoom forward a couple of years, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever, all of it. Up until about a couple of months ago when I kind of realised the effect that social media has on the way you view the world, and I decided just to quit it for a month, you know, as a test kind of to myself to see if I could, but also just, you know, to see the effect it would have on me. And after a month I returned, and it gave me an interesting perspective on social media itself, rather than social media defining my perspective, you know. And I guess it's good to remind yourself you're in control sometimes of your own life, because quite often you get fed things a lot that are out of your control, or because, you know, an algorithm or someone has decided you see them. I think it's good to step back for a while and see them for yourself, rather than seeing what someone else wants you to do.
You talk about needing a break from social media to get back in control. What is your reasoning behind this?
Getting back in control. Why did I feel the need to take a break from social media? Okay. I would say that I'd gotten to a pretty dark area of my life, as everyone does. You know, sometimes you have to go a little bit further down to go up. And I guess that's what happened, because, you know, when I got down, I started realising, panicking again, getting into like a old state of mind. And I realised that there are, you know, obviously things that can happen in your life that can affect you, but how mentally stable you are or how healthy you are is going to help you deal with them. So I realised, okay, I need to get mentally stable, I need to get healthy. So I started doing things like going to the gym, eating healthier and whatnot. Started thinking more efficiently about my future, but also took a break from social media. I stopped using it as much at first. I barely used it to the point where I thought, okay, I can take a break for a month. I took a break for a month and it was fine. And now I have my notifications actually permanently turned off, which means that throughout the day I don't get a random ding or a beep, or whenever I open my phone I don't see, oh my god, that person messaged me. You know, that anxiety and whatever is all taken away from it. And I think it does create a lot of mental calm and like peace, not constantly being involved and attacked, because a lot of the issues nowadays with mental health, especially in the youth, is stemming from being in the present and the moment and the situation. So if I were to speak to somebody and have a conversation with them, you know, they could get to know pretty well a lot about me. You know, if I said something to them and I lied to them, for example, they could tell it pretty much instantly. If you're having a deep conversation with someone you love, they can tell you love them by the way you're speaking, your expressions and whatnot. But on social media, over the phone, through a text, through a Snapchat, through a picture, through a video, you can't really tell those kind of things. And I think it takes you away from the moment that you're in currently and puts you in a moment that someone else is having somewhere else. Living in the present, I think, is pretty important to stay mentally stable.
So, what kind of social media do you consume, and do you think life would be easier without it?
What kind of social media do I consume right now? Well, right now I don't really use social media as much once I discovered that, you know, you can enjoy other things in life outside of it. You know, the things I kind of look at nowadays I'll occasionally scroll through Instagram. I checked it recently and I didn't think I use it more than an hour a day, which is pretty good in terms of other people's usage, you know. It may not be good in terms of, you know, some people's, but in terms of people my age, I think I'm doing pretty okay. But the things that I watch on Instagram or look at mainly be from friends talking to me, friends I haven't seen in a long time, friends that I know will just send me funny pictures they've seen or taken or found on the internet, funny videos, my friends sending me links to music he likes and whatnot, or you know, advice on Instagram is quite interesting, something that the algorithm has chosen for me recently. It's just advice about health, life, direction, motivation, and you know, I think another question you asked me is, without social media, would life be easier? That ties into it, you know. Yes and no. I mean, a lot of the guidance I'm getting right now is from social media. A big inspiration to me, Ziz, was a social media influencer, all about fitness and health and living a life that he wants to live. Without social media, I wouldn't be able to hear his message, his life, his story, and I wouldn't be able to be inspired just by like many other people that I'm inspired by. However, as Liz mentioned earlier, without social media, I feel like people would live in the moment. You know, they would appreciate themselves more. They wouldn't have this constant weighing over them of, oh, I need to do this, oh, I need to do that. I remember when I used to use social media a lot more back in the day, I used to use things like TikTok, like Reddit and stuff like that, like all the time, and it would just be scrolling through video, and it just wouldn't stop basically. It's one of the reasons why I just don't use TikTok anymore. It's because it's really damaging to have that instant scroll, hit, whatever, instead of just appreciating where you are, who you're with, what you're doing.
Do you think representations of men and women are fair in media? From a survey that I've just shown you, 100% of the responses said no. What do you think about this? And do you think there's anything we could change that will maybe flip some of these answers?
I would agree exactly with the survey. Representations of men and women are not fair on social media today. I think quite a big issue is, most social media is consumer produced. The people that watch the videos, the people that like, interact, and whatever, they also post them. They also make the tweets, send the snaps, whatever it is. And I think it is a very like a community, population-based form of media, social media, because it's by the people. And I think a lot of people, even though they don't necessarily want to admit it, they do have quite fixed views on gender. Oh, I think women shouldn't be able to do this. Oh, I think men should look like that. Oh, but a man should do this for his family. Oh yeah, but a woman should look thinner. All these kind of things. And I think once, let's say, somebody puts out a tweet that says, I wish women did this, or I wish men did that. All the people that actually thought that would then like it, that retweet, that comment, that whatever. And it would just escalate from there. And I think quite often we're pitted against each other as genders, men and women. I know there are more genders out there, but they're not as commonly pitted against each other as men or female are. A lot of males will have resentment towards females, a lot of females have resentment towards males, and it's very distracting because it's yet another fight that doesn't need to happen. Just as fights between races, fights between ages, and all that kind of stuff. We're all human. We shouldn't be focusing on oh yeah, that person's female, that person's male. That isn't an issue. There are genuine issues out there that we could be putting attention towards, but we're too busy arguing over, oh, I think women, I think men, oh, I think guys and girls and whatnot. I think it's all a waste of time and a distraction, unfortunately. That was.
So in the survey, there is another question about how we can shift factors of hating ourselves into something positive. There are quite a few answers there. Do you agree or disagree with any? What is your opinion on this? And yeah, do you have any advice?
Well, I think as a human becoming a teenager, pointing out the negatives of our body is inevitable. As humans, we're critical thinkers, which helps us to develop and grow, but it also means that we point out the bad things, which isn't necessarily a bad thing itself. If we point out the bad things and then do something about it and make them better, or things that we can't do anything about, accepting, for example, scars, burns, things like vitiligo, or amputated arms, legs, and whatnot, you can't do anything about. If you could work towards regrowing an arm, I'm sure a lot of people would. Do you know what I'm saying? But they can't. So once you can't do something about it, you accept it. And I think a lot of the takes in the survey said a lot of good things about how there are bodies. We should appreciate how amazing our bodies are. How we can walk and run, and we can be healthy, and we can eat more, and change our bodies and whatnot. But there are a couple of answers that maybe showed off the negative side of body positivity. I think quite an interesting quote with my overcoming issues with my own body, eating, and my weight recently was, it's okay to be fat, but it's not okay to stay fat. And I think it's quite an interesting take, maybe a harsh reality for some. And it essentially, it's talking about how if you can do something about something, that's an issue, you should do something about it. As I was saying earlier, if you cannot do anything about something, there's no point worrying about it or working towards it, because nothing's gonna, help it. You just gotta accept it and move along. But with things like weight, for example, it's really, really important to eat healthily and to exercise regularly as humans. And I think, it is, as I said earlier, it is okay to be fat. You know, you shouldn't discriminate on anyone if they're fat. You shouldn't look down on them in a certain way. But if that person is acknowledging the fact they're fat, you know, they're sitting with it and they're saying things like, for example, in the survey, they said that, you know, showing off cellulite should be normalized and you should be appreciated for that. I think that is maybe de-evolution in a sense, where instead of trying to achieve the peak of our bodies, we're just being okay with being comfortable. But comfort, you know, never creates progress.
Hello, I'm George. Say some stuff. Oh, I'm a teacher and a photographer. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to describe myself. Is that enough? Would you like some more? Okay, so hi, I'm George. I'm a teacher. I am also a photographer. This usually means my social media usage is quite photography based. So I follow a lot of prominent photographers, I suppose, but also people just leaving university so that I can try and stay at the forefront of the industry. Yeah, also a little bit of art as well, I suppose, and sport. Kind of ranges, it ranges so much, sorry.
Do you think social media is a safe space?
Do I think social media is a safe space? Yes and no. I think that it adds a lot of pressure to individuals, both to engage, but also act in certain ways. For example, with celebrities presenting themselves, people expect or think that they're expected to act in a certain way. Also, people might be a little bit kind of intimidated by social media. So I think it has good things in terms of sharing, in terms of like the distribution of content. That could be photography, art, films, whatever it might be. But equally it has those downsides and negatives where people have those or feel there are expectations. And obviously people behind a keyboard have no face. So a worry for me would be where it isn't safe is anybody can say anything and have a veil of anonymity. So.
Cool. Have you had any negative impacts online?
Have I had any negative impacts online? Not really. Not through like comments or anything like that. I've had friends taking the mick out of me, but that is through them knowing that I've got a particular style to my photographs and they use it to wind me up basically. So I wouldn't really call it like bullying, I wouldn't really call it particularly negative because actually it's something that they would say to my face anyway. So I think when it comes to sort of social media and that sort of maybe bullying sort of like side of things, potentially people are only confident saying those things because they're behind that keyboard or they're behind a screen, they are anonymous. Like I said, I've not experienced it. People that I know, obviously I deal with students on a regular basis who have dealt with that sort of thing or have had to deal with that sort of thing. And I don't think it's obviously not easy for them. I think society is still quite new with this sort of technology, with this sort of way of socializing. So some people can deal with it and some people can't deal with it. I'm not sure society has worked out a good way to manage or deal with cyberbullying. Just banning someone from a platform isn't always the best way or the right way to kind of get those things sorted.
So as a teacher yourself and in a school, how do you think we could help these kids younger?
So as a teacher, in like an educational sort of like institution or environment, I think younger people in general, both sort of primary, secondary, college level, university level, I think a key part of social media or understanding of social media is an education of social media, and understanding that we as people will always only put our best face or our best like sort of example of ourselves out on social media. Sorry.
So, being a teacher and being part of a school community, how do you think we could improve this sort of body positivity online at a younger age?
So, as a teacher and as part of an educational institution, I think education on social media is key. I think people need to have the understanding, or need to be taught the understanding, that social media always presents the best parts of us, or celebrities, or your best mate. That you'll never, or the majority of people will rarely put up an embarrassing photograph of themselves, or something that might lead to them looking a little bit silly. Particularly in the case of a celebrity where society looks up to them, they use them as role models, particularly when it comes to body positivity. I think that the majority of people can get quite negative, can get severely impacted by the lack of context around a situation. Celebrities are a great example because they will always post the best thing that will get them the most views, that will get them the most likes, the most shares, whatever it might be. But actually, when they wake up in the morning, they are not that person. They are not instantly ready to jump straight onto Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever it might be, and post that photograph of themselves, because it's not going to make them look great or fantastic. Some people will, like obviously there is a community of people that will, but I don't think there's that level of understanding or awareness, and I think maybe that's what's missing. Social media needs to be taken with a pinch of salt, basically, to show, right, on one hand you've got this version of reality which is all fantastic and everything is brilliant and every day is a holiday or fantastic. On the other hand, that is maybe like a really small percentage of anybody's life, and the normal day-to-day boring tasks like emptying a dishwasher or like walking a dog or cleaning the house sort of thing, those sorts of things rarely communicated. So I think that part is really key for educational institutions to try and instill in younger people, to make them a little bit more aware and conscious of this social media as a whole and what it's aiming to do.
So, in a survey, 100% of people didn't think representations of men and women are fair in media. What is your opinion on this? Do you agree with them? How could we improve that? Yeah.
Cool. What's my opinion on 100% of people in a survey saying that women are not represented the same or fairly in comparison to men? I completely agree. It's a difficult question for a white male to answer because I'm incredibly privileged. The media present me, my gender, my race higher than anybody else. I'm also incredibly lucky because I'm also middle class. So I'm one of those people at the most difficult end of that, and that have benefited most from the media's like sort of rejection, refusal to represent any other social group. It's never something that I feel particularly comfortable about. I feel that actually in recent years, this is going to sound really unfair because, again, I'm speaking from the male perspective. I feel that there's been more of a push for positive representation, positive, like, sort of more equal representations, but it's still not ever enough. And I think that if you look at companies like Dove, who have for a long time tried to do the body positivity with their like sort of skincare products, and they have shown women of all sizes, all shapes in their adverts, I think that like sort of 10-15 years ago was a great starting point, but it doesn't seem to have really progressed much further than that. And because of the people that control the media industry, the white male, and generally the older white male, I feel that actually this is a movement that is happening at the moment that I worry that it will lose traction. I worry that it will not ever just stick around, that it's a phase that society seems to be going through. And as an educator, as one of the groups that has benefited, it's my responsibility to try and make sure it doesn't just fade away. Yeah, it's a really good question, a really difficult answer to kind of give, but again, it comes back to the question we were discussing before about education and the idea of this change is not going to happen overnight. It needs to happen gradually, and it needs to become systemic in our society that actually all cultures, all people are equal and should be fairly represented. And the media is a big part of that. Yeah, it's so big, so difficult. Such a massive thing to try and change because it's like a big machine that it takes a long time for that to kind of change direction and change opinion. And it's definitely going, hopefully, in the right direction. Yeah, education is the best way forward, I think.
So in my survey, there was a question, what makes you happy about your body? Most of the answers are about your physical appearance. What is your opinion on this? What makes you happy about your body? Yeah.
Cool. So what makes me happy about my body? When asked a question like that, I think it's very easy to jump to like sort of the physical look, the physical like sort of characteristics. It's not something I think about on a regular basis, like in terms of the happiness. It's always looking for improvement. I don't know. Yeah, that's a really difficult question to answer because like when I think about physical characteristics, that isn't something that I regularly think about. I quite like my beard. It can be ridiculous at times, but yeah, I think people probably go for that physical characteristic thing because it's something that is focused on and something that can be seen and put a value on. So whether you are muscular, whether you are handsome, or whether you are like sort of, when I say happy with your body, like whatever shape that might be, it's a physical characteristic that then links into that sort of mental like sort of side of appearance and body positivity as well. Again, kind of linking back to the previous question, because I'm a white middle class male, I fit into the group that are rarely actually kind of forced to make or are encouraged to make changes with their body. It's actually, in the media, everybody else seems to be pushed towards making changes with their body for the benefit of. It's not something I'm particularly happy with. Yeah, it's difficult. I'm trying to think of other things to say in terms of like the mental health side of things, because when you come down to that pressure to change your body must be so intense, and I'm sure maybe when I was younger I must have felt it, because I must feel it now, because I still go running, I still exercise, I still look to improve myself, but maybe instead of looking for body changes it's more for mental health positivity. So I run when I'm annoyed, or I run when I've had a bad day, or I run because I enjoy running and I feel better because of that. Yes, there are positive aspects that, you know what, I'm slimmer, I can eat what I want, I can do all of those other things because I'm doing the running, but that's not the reason I do it. I want to do it for like the mental sort of side, to make me feel better about myself, like sort of not physically, mentally. So I guess through that answer there probably are pressures on me that I'm just not acknowledging and probably not really maybe paying attention to. And obviously from a 33-year-old man's perspective, it's going to be very different from other people that you survey or other people that you speak to. It's a good question.
So my name's Sarah. I am 42 and I am a college teacher and I teach media. I work with students all day, every day from the age of 16 to 19 and I understand kind of the social media stuff that they go through and they consume. I don't consume that kind of stuff. Growing up in an age where it wasn't really relevant, I don't really consume it that much. So I guess I go on Facebook, but I go on Facebook to be nosy, not to see what the fashions are or anything like that. I don't have Snapchat, I don't use Twitter. So I'd say Facebook is my only really, and Instagram. I love Instagram, but my Instagram's all about home improvements rather than fashion and what people look like, so slightly different use. So yeah.
So a hashtag going around is body positivity. Do you think this is helpful for men as well, or is this a different story?
I think it's hidden. I think men's body positivity is hidden. It's that they don't want to admit that they care. It's not macho to care about kind of your image, is it? Or if you do care about your image, you're huge and you are muscles all over the place. It doesn't. A normal man, as we would see them, as females see them, as everybody else sees them, then they're too ashamed, I guess, to talk about it. So I think if hashtag body positivity for men and it just showed, like it does women, normal men, everyday men who may have that tiny belly because they like a few beers or may not be as stacked as they'd like to be because, you know, life's busy for them too, then I think it would be positive. But would men look at it? Probably not. I don't know if men go on social media. It's all to do with machoism, it's all to do with going out, it's all to do with look what I did at the weekend rather than looking at what you physically look like. So yeah, I think it would be relevant, but would they use it as much as women do? I'm not so sure.
So as a teacher, do you think there is anything in schools, anything outside of schools that could possibly affect people in schools to improve this topic?
Education is key, isn't it? I know at home, I appreciate you want to know as a teacher, but as a parent, my daughter is...
So as a teacher, do you think there is anything that could be done more or change slightly or just stay the way it is to help kids?
Yes, absolutely. Education's key, isn't it? As a teacher of 16 to 18-year-olds, by the time students get to me, it's sometimes too late. And as a parent of an 8-year-old, do I want my daughter to be talking about social norms and social media and things like that? Probably not. So absolutely, I think it's key in education, but I think you have to aim it at the right age, and I think you have to get it right. Doing it too early is just highlighting a problem that's about to arise, and doing it at college is just way too late because students are already consumed by what it is that they think is important. So I think secondary school age is vital and key to highlight the effect social media has on everybody, not just that age group, but everybody. I think it has to be part of the education, not just the tutor system. Everybody talks about, oh, we do that in tutor for half an hour a week. It's not good enough. When you've got a 13, 14-year-old who is most drastic situations trying to kill themselves because what they see on social media, half an hour a week doesn't cut it. I think it's far more important, or is equally as important as your times tables, how to write, how to put grammar into a sentence, you know, that's education, but so is this now, and times are changing. And I absolutely think that lessons on social media and how to help students get through those years now is something that I never needed, and I'm very grateful for the fact that I never needed it, but I think it's vital now. Because as a teacher of 16 to 18 year olds, I've seen devastation. You know, I've seen students come who hate themselves so much because of what they've seen on social media that it's just heartbreaking. So I think it absolutely needs to be improved, and I think it needs to become part of a curriculum, not just half an hour a week in a tutor session.
So in the survey, one of the questions was, do you think representations of men and women are fair? And everybody said no. What is your opinion on this? Do you agree with them? How do you think we can improve this?
It all depends what you mean by representation of men and women. Staged representation, where they are in a photo shoot. No, it's not fair, it's not natural. You don't look like that in real life. All these Instagram models, so to speak, they spend hours touching, you know, making everything look perfect, and they've got the correct lighting and they've got the correct angle and all that kind of stuff, and naturally they don't look like that at all. So representation in staged media, I don't think is fair. But then you flip that and you've got images of celebrities walking out in the street when they haven't done their hair, they haven't done the makeup, they're on the school run and they just look like normal people. That's real representation, but the media mock them for looking like that. So you've got people who are okay going out and looking the way they want to look and looking the natural way, but then somehow it's okay for the media to go, oh, look how fat she is, or she hasn't done her hair today, or wow, hasn't she put on weight in the past few weeks, or he, you know, look at his beer belly, look what he's wearing. And that's them as natural people. So I think the media portrays and takes images of natural people and then mocks them, but then we highlight and we put on a pedestal the people who stage their appearances. So I think that needs to change. I think there needs to be a ban on it. I don't think it's fair that those people who are okay with being natural, we slam for being ugly, and those people who do stage it and stand there and not eat for 2 weeks just so they can get the perfect picture is okay. So I'm gonna go no, probably.
Hi, what's your name and tell me a little bit about you?
So hi, I'm Jay Smith, and I'm the Safeguarding and Wellbeing Manager at the Henley College, and along with that it means I'm also the Deputy Designated Safeguarding Lead. So that all sounds very like big words, but actually it just means that my role is to ensure that students are safe at the college, and the college are doing the right things to ensure we get the best out of students really. A bit about myself, what do you want to know really? It's a vague question.
Just talk about sort of your social media, what do you like?
Okay. So, in regards to social media, yes, I've got Instagram, I had Snapchat, I've got Facebook, I do a bit of blogging on the side of my work at the college. So for my friend's got a platform called Music Football Fatherhood, and that's about supporting dads of children really, so they're all for different ages. We have a platform for them to share ideas or support them in what they're doing, to understand that, and that ranges from 0 up to any age, and we've got dads from all different walks of life. So yeah, massive. I think recently we just done a book for dads, and every dad wrote like a story in there to share for other dads. So yeah.
Cool.
If we look at the news quite recently, the attacks in America. So I was hearing this morning about social media platforms were coming under fire because they were too slow to take things down. You think of what's happened with Donald Trump, social media, anyone can jump on social media They can just post whatever. It's not governed in a sense, but also social media, it can be a positive thing because it allows you to connect with people around the world. So there's the positives, but I think it's how it's governed. So I think in my role, I think it's about teenagers. I think telling a teenager not to do something, they're going to want to go and do it. They're going to want to go and find out. They like risks, you're going to go and do it. But it's how do we do it safe? But I think it's about opening the conversation where we're a bit more accountability and what's being posted and what's being said and how to react. And I think you can see, I think this year, last year, the impact of social media in a negative way. But you also hear, in life, you always see the negatives of everything and they get wrapped up. No one talks about the positives of social media. So I think, actually, okay, so the negatives happen, how's it being dealt with? But I think actually people only post things to jump on a bandwagon, but does it have a lot of traffic moving forward? So I think it's a massive question. It's not a straight fix. There's more to it. Is that a bit vague, the answer for you?
So, representations of men and women in media are not fair. Do you agree with that? Do you not agree with that? What's your opinion on it, really?
I think so. Yeah, I do agree that it's not equal. I think that in the media, it reflects very much an old school view of society, really. So the man's number one, and the woman's number two. But you can see that in everything, really. So if you think of it in sports as well, you can see that. So for myself, my son plays elite football, and in his team, grassroots team, my daughter plays football as well. And regardless of the money that gets put into men's football in comparison to women's football, a massive, massive, massive gap. And I think the media plays a role in promoting that and change the narrative. We need to change the narrative that women are equal. We see it in everything in life, in politics, in the workforce, everywhere really. So yeah.
What is your sort of opinion on that? Like, is there sort of a stigma around that? Do you think we can change that in any way? Yeah, why is it just physical appearances always?
Because that's what the media promote, don't they? Body confidence. If you think of what an advert, so what's that program called that everyone watches and they go on the island? Love Island, isn't it? So if you look at Love Island and you look at the contestants on Love Island, you would think that the world is full of people who are a certain shape. I think lip fillers is a massive thing at the moment that everyone promotes is what's seemed desirable. I think the media promotes certain images, and then you think, if you look at Instagram, we look around the world, not everyone's the perfect shape, or what the media says is a perfect shape. I think it's about promoting that plus size. They call it plus sizes. That's normal. And I think on Instagram, I follow some people, and my wife and I have a conversation about it, and we say, look, this is what's normal. And then for young people, you guys are like sponges, so you take on everything that's happening. And I think it's about us promoting, so brands need to have a better role in contracting or promoting that this is what normal looks like. Because at the moment it's not healthy to promote what normal is looking like. Bleached teeth, fillers. What other things are quite popular amongst young people that they look, even when you're taking a photo, everyone has a certain angle because they want to show that they've got this perfect figure. Why do that? Why can't you be perfect about just being happy with who you are? I think body confidence is massive, but I think we just need to empower people to believe who they are.
Yeah, you could talk about the negatives and the positives of it.
I don't, in regards of would it be easier? No, because I think actually it is too easy to say we cut it off and don't do it. No, the media is there, social media is there for a reason. And if you think about it, 30 years ago, you wouldn't be aware of certain things like this. So it has its place in society, but I think it needs to be better governed. I think we heard it from with the World Cup, with the team missing penalties, you see it in things, it needs to be better governed. I think if it was better governed, I think it'd be good. But I think because it's out there, it's a free-for-all, it's just crazy. We need to maybe calling people out, cancel culture. I think the example, Will Smith slapping Chris Rock, which has happened. I don't live in America, but I wake up in the morning, I've seen that so many times, and actually it's getting things out there, the news is out there. But I think it's a case of turning comments off, so it's done, not anyone else can post it, or only reputable sources can post things, because I can get that and I can be a computer whiz and I can change that, edit it, and I can have that post doing something totally different. So I think actually social media has a place in society, but I think it's about how we manage it. So I think, is it a case of turning on filters so you don't go on at certain times, not getting certain information? Think of social media. Social media sometimes is used in a way where you can radicalise. When I say radicalise, do you know what that means? So prevent making people believe certain ideologies and I'm trying to think. So yeah, radicalise them. So Shamila Begum, do you know who she is? So the girl who got drawn into the Islamic State. So social media is sometimes used to make people believe that. But I mean, because it's not governed and no one's seeing it, they're not vast enough to pull things down or to police what's happening. So I think we need to think of a way how, if you get better at policing what people can and can't see, or what's posted, then it has a place. But until, at the moment, if it's a free-for-all, it's a difficult place because it makes it susceptible for anything happening.
Perfect.
Hi, my name's Amy. I go to Henley College, and I think I started social media about when I was probably in year 7, maybe in year 6 for like texting my mum. But other than that, yeah, it was really year 7. And I think I watched most like makeup videos and like, I don't know, just tried to fit in really with watching things like that. Now it's a little bit different. I kind of like, I've got TikTok and all of that, and I kind of just watch people just go about their daily lives. That's really it.
Do you have any personal experiences with online bullying?
I do, but it was quite a while ago when I used to play Clash of Clans because I would be on like the chat sites and stuff, like messaging random people, and they used to be quite mean, but it's like, I don't know, mostly because it's anonymous, and like people think that they can just say whatever they want when it's anonymous, but like if people were like their true names or had to be themselves, it would be a lot different.
And do you have any more recent stories about cyberbullying?
I don't have any recent stories about cyberbullying, but I think that's due to me because of my accounts. They're all private and everything's kind of just seen by the people that I trust and I'm friends with, and I don't think they'd cyberbully me. So that's a little bit like different because the people that we know to be cyberbullied are those like celebrities and models who have their whole life on the internet for everyone to see, which obviously invites people who they don't trust and they are not so nice to comment and be horrible to them. I don't think representations of men and women are fair. As shown in the survey, 100% of people said that it wasn't fair, and I agree with that. And I think that's because there's minorities that aren't being heard and they're not being represented. And I think that's like due to like people who run it and the people that are on the platform itself. I mean, it has grown a lot, but there's still so much more growth to be had.
Do you think social media is a safe space?
Yes and no. I think mostly no.
Do you think social media is a safe space?
Social media, I think, is a safe place, but it's also not. I think there's like a line, like there's no control over who's on it or what they say. I mean, there is to a certain extent, but it's not very like tightly monitored, so I feel like that could be something that could be done. And if it was more like watched and people weren't just allowed to do or say whatever they wanted, then maybe. And there's so much pressure being put on like young girls or young females to look or act a certain way, so I feel like in that sense, like certain filters or certain images shouldn't be allowed, like that kind of like editing thing. But I mean, it is as well, because it's like it allows you to have some like freedom in a sense, because it allows you to like express yourself.